Welcome back to another episode. We're standing here in the storage room that we built in the last episode, and I finished moving everything in that I promised I would do in between episodes. Now today we're building a blacksmith, which I've put a lot of effort into, which has quite a bit of detail as well. So I can't wait for us to build that. But first, let's go take a look at the build site after I quickly sleep here. Now something that became apparent in the last episode when building the melon farm over there was that there's actually a lot of space here that is available for us to use for a lot of different buildings. So if we use the free cam, we can see that there's this wide open space here between this hill here and the hill that goes over here, where we can build a lot of different things. That's the plan for today. Let's go take a close look at it in person here. It's actually pretty interesting to use the free cam once in a while because you get to see things from a slightly different perspective. Usually I just consider this like jungle that I had to pass through to go over to all the biomes that is that way when we gather resources. Yeah, this is also pretty good ground with some nice green grass here that we can use for our builds. So this is where we're gonna be building the blacksmith, and the idea behind it is that I want to be able to sort of work a little bit with villagers here, especially the armor guy that I want to be able to trade with, because he can give us like diamond armor and stuff like that. So I thought that would be interesting, so that's the reasoning for building a blacksmith in the first place here. But since there's a wide open space here, I thought that it would be interesting to work with a large variety of villagers here in the future. So we can have like our villager trading place here, but not have them like trapped and just have like a community for them that we build here. We might have to put some walls up at some point here to keep them safe as well, and some iron golems, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now that does also mean that there's a lot of trees here that we need to cut down at some point. I might not cut all of them down today, but certainly some here so we can get a little bit of air around the build as well. Now building a community here does also come with the caveat of us having to manipulate the terrain a little bit, because when you look at some of these blobs here, they might look fine in a sparse jungle, but if we want to build a community here for the villagers, we might have to smooth things over a little bit. Now I've also considered doing some larger manipulations of the terrain. For example, building a big cliff here, I feel could be pretty cool, and it's probably something that we're gonna do later on in the video, but for now, we have to gather some materials for the blacksmith, and to do that, we'll have to go somewhere where I haven't gone in a lot of episodes now, and that's into the nether here, because we're gonna make a blue roof for the blacksmith, as you guys probably saw in the thumbnail. And to do that, we're gonna need some of the warp wood, and we can only get that in the nether. Alright, so we're here at the portal rings, and I don't think I've used them since I just tested whether they worked or not, in like episode 6 or something like that, so let's hope they work still. They do, that's nice. Let's go this way here. I don't recall exactly where the warp forest is. Oh shoot. Oh no. Okay, we're safe. I did bring a golden helmet, but I had forgotten to put it on. Is he still gonna be mad at me? What's up, buddy? Okay, you're chill now. I'm an entirely different person. Oh, I need to find the warp forest. Did he just shoot it through the fire at me? I'm getting absolutely destroyed by this guy. Let's go. Did make it, but I got a arrow lodged inside my head. 2 actually. 1 in the neck, 1 in the head, and 1 in the chest. Okay, this is like Boromir from Lord of the Rings. I wonder where the warp forest was. I feel like I've seen one. Let me just check something real quick. Don't I have like the hot tourist thing? Yeah, hot tourist destinations. So I should have like encountered a warp forest before, but maybe it's magically vanished. Here's the fortress, which is the extent that I went to in the last episode. Oh wait, the warp forest is right over there. Okay, now I had planned to like get the wood first and then say, okay, since we're here, we're gonna go into the fortress, but I guess at this point we might as well just go into the fortress first. Because at some point in the future I do plan on taking on the Ender Dragon. And we need the Eye of Ender for that. So I need to get some blaze rods. Could be cool to get a wither skull here as well. But I don't think the chances of that are very much in my favor. Okay, that's 1. That's pretty convenient. I think if we get 6 more, that should do the trick. Oh my goodness. How is there so many here? Okay, we got 7. Let's leave it at that. I do think we have a couple of spare at home as well. I'm not sure there's any efficient way for me to clear that out at that point. There's just too many to handle. And I don't have a bow or something like that. Let's see if we can fight this Enderman. Why is he teleporting so much? Stop. Okay, nice, we got a pearl. Those guys are a bit too far away, all the way over there, but there are a lot of Endermen here in the warp forest. Let's pick up all the wood here. And of course, I just realized that I didn't bring an axe with durability with me. So that's it. Is there anything I can do? I can get gold for gold axes. Gotta get rid of these guys first here. And we have fortune as well, so actually we pick up quite a bit of gold. Actually, this isn't really all that bad, because gold pickaxes are very fast. If only they didn't have so low durability. Okay, that's nearly 4 stacks. I think that should be enough. Let's head back out. Maybe we can take on an Enderman if we see one here. On the way out. There is a fella over here. Give me a pearl. He's kiting me. Okay, I'm dying. What do I do here? I hope nothing burned. And of course I respawn here. Luckily base is right over here, so we can just go pick up some stuff and head back in to try and recover things. Alright, we're back here at the temple. Let's go pick up some stuff for the recovery mission. Guess some of this works. An axe, a shovel, a couple of pickaxes. Do I have any food to my name? Oh, we can make some bread, okay. Alright, let's head inside. As long as I get my pickaxes, that's really all that matters. There is fire. There's 2 pickaxes though. And the shovel as well. Did we even lose anything? I honestly think we managed to get all of value. Maybe we lost the potatoes, I think. I think that's it. We lost the potatoes, but that's fine. I can live with that. I think we're gonna settle for 1 pearl. Let's just head back out. Alright, so we're back at the build site, and I promised that for the sake of the visibility of the build, that I would clear out a little bit of the jungle here in the shrubbery. And while you guys enjoy that time lapse, I'll also gather some materials, because we'll need a lot of specific single blocks. So I'll do that, and yeah, enjoy the time lapse. Alright, so we're back with all the materials gathered, and it took about 2.5 hours off camera here to gather all of these materials. And as you can see, we have a lot of different blocks here that we're gonna be using. And that's basically what I wanted to highlight, how much detail I've tried to put into this build, so I really look forward to showing you guys the build in its full glory and going over some of the details with you as well. Especially things like mushroom stems took so long to get, and I even had to go into the nether to get even more bone meal because I ran out while bone mealing mushrooms here, as you saw in the time lapse. Now there's still 1 block missing that I want to get, and yeah, I think we're gonna have to do another adventure of that one. That's dark prismarine blocks, and that means that we have to go to an ocean monument, and I know there's one in the ocean that is over there, so that's pretty convenient. However, there's only a few in each monument, and otherwise we have to slay some of the guardians for their shards, and that's gonna be a real pain. So let's hope there's enough generated blocks at the monument so we don't have to do that. As you guys can see here, if we take a look in my inventory, I've prepared myself for the journey. We have a lot of milk so we can get rid of the mining fatigue, and a bunch of doors as well, so we have some air pockets that we can breathe in. Now with that said, let's go find the ocean monument. Alright, we got the ocean monument in sight. Actually there's one more over there, but we have to move fast here. I think we have to go on the back side, if I remember correctly. And we have to go real fast here. Okay, there's one here. And if we go like this, we have an air pocket. Nice. And we got mining fatigue, so we have to be quite fast here. Gold is of course a bonus. We need 40, I think, if I remember correctly. So the more we get here, the better. Now we have to be careful. Okay, we've got a safe pocket. That was getting a little bit hairy, but I think we can get enough, actually. Let's try to swim about here. Pick up the ones we've missed. So far so good. Okay, we need to get 1 more, and then we're good. So that's that. That's that as well. And then let's just leave this here and sail back this way, the way we came. That was my first time in this world in an ocean monument. It's not really a place that you go to very often, like unless you need some specific blocks, right? So it's pretty fun to be in one of those again. They do a lot of damage, those guys. Way more than you expect. Like, we nearly met our demise just doing that. And there was only like 3 or 4 of them. It would be pretty cool in the future to build a guardian farm so we can get these blocks a little more easily. And maybe set up like a squid farm as well while we're at it. So we can get like dark prismarine, because it's a pretty cool block to be able to use. And it's not one you see very often in survival builds, right? Because it's so tedious to go acquire it. Luckily for our purposes today here, we only need a few of them, so we're all good on that front. Alright, so we've made it back. Now let's head over to the build site and prepare ourselves for the final steps before we get to building. Alright, so the final step before we get to building is talking a bit about the block palette here that we're going to be using. For the terrace that we're going to wrap around the build, we're going to be using these 4 blocks here. So some oak slabs, a piston here with the face side here. So that sort of resembles the texture of the oak slab as well. And then we're going to be using a beehive, because that's just another type of plank. And we're also going to be using one of these chiseled bookshelves here, because, yeah, for the exact same reason as all the other choices, because they resemble each other in the same sort of color style, and also, yeah, using these small planks of varying sizes, right? So we have some very small ones here, we have some bigger ones here, and we have some chiseled ones here, and of course the box standard ones here. Now for the roof, we're going to be using some orb blocks, as well as a dark prismarine that we're going to sprinkle in a little bit, just to sort of mix things up a little bit, right? Because otherwise it could get a little bit monotone with just using the orb blocks. We're also going to be adding some trim around the edges and along the top for some parts as well, where we're going to be using the spruce wood here, along with some spruce trapdoors and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really excited to get going, and without much further to say, let's get building. Alright guys, so the build is completed, and let me give you guys a tour of it. Over here up first, we have the smithing area, an outdoor smithing area, where he can sort of use the fire to heat metal up and bend it into shape here on the anvil, and then cool it down in the cauldron here. And we also got a couple of materials here for him to use, a bit of coal here in case he needs that, and some iron as well. And he can have other stuff here in the barrels as well. I've also used some gold here on the ground to suggest that some things get moved around when he's forging some of the armor and stuff like that, so there's some nuggets that are laying on the ground that might have been dropped or something like that. I intended for this to be coal or iron, but I couldn't actually find any in the mine that we have over there. Maybe I've depleted that too much at this point. But moving on, we've also got here some armor stands that I've lowered into the ground a little bit. Yeah, he can then use that for display or for cooling of different sort of items. We've also got an overhang here with some banners that I've designed myself. Now, they aren't as nice as you might hope for them to be, but I was also limited to using a white background for all of them, since I have set up a small wool farm. So that's all I really had access to regarding the banner, so I could only add colors to the white base of the banners here. I've also tried to sort of emulate that this is a shield, so there's a wood base with some metal rims here, as there is some spruce trapdoors, and then sort of a coating for the shield here, sort of suggests that it's like a house standard or something like that. Now regarding the house walls, I've used some copper grates here, because they have some nice texture that you don't really find anywhere else, and of course some shutters here for the windows as well. And I've also added some signs to sort of spice it up a little bit, because otherwise it could get a little bit too monotone with only having the white mushroom stem background. Now I've used some beehives as well down here, because again, that is a different plank texture and it looks pretty good, and it breaks things up compared to only using planks or something like that. And just before we reach the overhang of the roof, I've used some upside down barrels as well here, just to add a line that wraps around the house to spice things up a little bit as well. Now moving on here, this is the main entrance for the house, and we're going to be adding some paths that connects up to the rest of the builds and wraps over here, so that you can just enter this way. And again, a copper grate for the window, and we continue the pattern here with signs and buttons and stuff to break things up on the white mushroom stem walls. Along the back here, the pattern continues with greater windows and the trapdoors for shutters. And I've also added a little bit of shrubbery here, just to spice it up a little bit, because otherwise it was looking a little bit monotone before I did that. So that's a good thing you guys can do if you find yourself lacking some variety in some parts of your builds. Just some greenery really does the trick there. Now, one final thing to take a look at here before we enter the living quarters is the roof, and I think the warp planks here does nice in addition with the prismarine blocks to sort of spice things up a little bit. But I think it's a nice blue texture that you can use, and I don't think the prismarine clashes too much with the warp wood, so I think we're safe on that front as well. I think it looks pretty good all in all. And of course, I've also added a bit of a gradient here going up the chimney, so it's darker at the bottom, where there might be more heat due to the direct charring from the wood. And then as we travel up the chimney, it keeps a sort of grey base here that might at one time have been at the bottom here as well. Now with that said, let's go into the living quarters. Now I haven't done too much here on the interior. We have a couch here, where you can see the fireplace, and a small table, and a little bit of a kitchen. And as you can see, there's still quite a few odd spots that need to work done, but we'll get to that at some point. Up here, we have the bedroom, along with some nice candles here for some morning lighting, or night lighting, whatever you want. And of course, a study chair. Now we're gonna get a villager in a moment here, and I think this is the place where he's gonna log what he's made and what he's charging for stuff and stuff like that. So that's sort of his little study where he keeps track of all the materials going in and out and things like that. Now I've also cleaned up all the materials and put them back in the storage room, and with that said, let's go find a villager. Alright, so we've made it here to the village, and I don't think I've been here for extended periods of time since episode 1, where we tamed our horse Monty, that was a part of that herd over there. And now we just gotta go find some villagers who hopefully haven't perished to zombies and stuff like that. Ah, a weaponsmith. Maybe I should bring that back as well. So if I bring back the grindstone here, we can get both a weaponsmith and an armorer as well. That seems like the move, I think. Alright, any of you guys want to come in here? You have been reassigned. He did? Okay, let's get him in the water here. Alright, that's the second guy. And now, let's try to lead the boat. Let's check. I'm pulling him along as well. I guess these guys here get to go on a bit of a sightseeing journey as well on the way there. And I do believe we have to sail all the way around. Okay, so they get to see the open ocean as well. Not a bad day to be a villager. What are you doing here, buddy? Aren't you a little bit far from home? The jungle is over there. Maybe he's going to a different jungle. Visiting a friend perhaps. I need to be careful that the guy doesn't get stuck back there. These are some very tight turns. I think it's easier to take them over the hill here, because I think the journey around is also quite tedious. Now for that I've brought with me some rail and a minecart as well. So it shouldn't be too bad, but honestly, from experience dealing with villagers, it's such a pain. Alright, so the guys have been carried over here, and now it's time to log in some trades. First, I want this fella here to stop being a fisherman, so I guess we have to remove these barrels here. And maybe if we bring the blast furnace over, that could help. I've also went over to the storage room and picked up all the emeralds that I have to my name, hopefully to help speed things along and log in a trade if we can find one. For example, this guy here, he's a weaponsmith, that's what we wanted. Actually, I'm quite tempted to buy this one. Let's do it. It's a good sword. So you can roam free now. How about you? Where are you gonna run to now? Where are you going? This feels like a Mexican standoff or something like that. I'm just waiting, anticipating his next move. Okay, there we go. Now he picked up his job. Now you can move on up, buddy. You've been promoted. And okay, of course he lost his trade because I removed it before I locked the trade in. I love villages. They're so much fun. I always get this idea that it would be cool to make like a village with villagers and have it be such a nice and cozy place, but the second you actually have to start working with them, it becomes such a pain. But I guess we can get some new boots and log in his trade as well. These are some expensive guys to trade with here. Like, I'm gonna need some way to get more emeralds. Perhaps selling sticks to someone or something like that down the line. Alright, so this is not very pretty. It ruins the view a little bit of the blacksmith, but I think I'm also done with dealing with villagers for today. There's only a certain amount of villager shenanigans that you can deal with in one day, and I think I reached my limit on that front. But there's still some terraforming that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And that was the big cliff here that I was talking about in the beginning of the video that I wanted to at least outline here today in this video. Like, building it would be probably a bit too big of a task, and of course would also warrant its own video. But even then, I think this is something that I'm gonna iterate over the next several episodes, because it's such a big project, and when it's on such a big scale, I want to make sure I get things right and test things out properly and stuff like that beforehand. So with that said, the final thing we'll do here today is outline the big cliff, and yeah, let's talk about it afterwards. Alright, so the initial outline for the cliff here is sketched out, and I also ended up removing quite a large amount of the sparse jungle here, just to be able to better show you guys what the cliff was gonna look like here in the time lapse. Now with that said, let's take a look at things. First up, one thing you guys might notice is that I've tried to make the start of the cliff here connect up nicely with the rolling hills that we have right beside it. And then we have sort of a gradual increase in the height of the cliff and the sharpness of it, so it's a bit gradual here in the beginning, and then it sort of slopes up further once we get towards the peak. I also intend for this part here to be slightly overhangy, not a lot, but just a little bit. That's really visible here at the peak, where the overhang is definitely much more of a factor than it was early on here. Now, there's no real thought process behind these triangle-ish blocks here that we can see, but I just wanted to sort of experiment with it and maybe check it out with a little more detail, just to see if I feel like it's a good idea or not. And yeah, since we have it on an initial level at this point, we can easily just change things if we want them to be different. Now over on this side we have it a little bit different. This time it again connects up here with the rolling hills, but it sort of tapers off this time instead of going into a peak, right? I hope it won't look weird to have these two different variations connected in the same cliff, but I wanted to try it, and I wanted to try both approaches. And one thing I'll also say is that I'm not sure yet whether this is going to be an overhang or not. I'm considering sort of a linear overhang here that sort of connects nicely up to the top of the outline and connects nicely along sort of a straight line between this pillar and the start of the cliff over there as well. It's all still on the drawing board, so changes can be made as we build it. We're not locked in on anything specific. I just wanted to outline a few things and show you guys what my thought process was. But with the blacksmith here in the background and the villagers safely stored in this temporary makeshift cage for their own safety, I might add, it's time to end the video. I want to thank you guys for watching. I enjoyed making this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.